Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at the G.I. Joe Classified Series Snake Eyes, which is the new version, newish, not new at all anymore. Snake Eyes from the G.I. Joe Origins. I don't know what it is. It's a movie, right? It's a new Snake Eyes movie. I think that's what it is. Anyway, this one's like a really cool modern take on Snake Eyes, and I'm excited for it. I was very excited when they announced it. Having it in hand, I still am very excited. I'm very happy to show you guys. There's a lot of good stuff going on here. There is some stuff that's not so good. We're going to talk about all of it. So let's go ahead and get it off the stand and take a closer look. And this guy stands almost exactly 16 centimeters, which makes him pretty close to, let's just say 6¼ inches, so a little bit smaller than like your average Marvel Legends scale. That would make him fairly short. A little bit too big, probably. I don't think he's that tall in real life, but it's a lot closer to true 1/12 scale. And this guy looks really cool. But before we get into it though, let's do a quick question of the day. For all of you G.I. Joe fans out there, are you okay with these new modern and movie and whatever alternative designs? Or do you really just want stuff of like the more classic looking character designs? For me personally, I love the updated looks for these guys, especially the ninjas. And I don't really have that much connection to the older Joe stuff, so I don't mind it at all. Okay, so let's talk about the aesthetic here. This guy is basically solid black plastic. There's the tiniest little bit of paint. We have some silver down there by his peeper, and then on the knees we have some red. On the arm we have some red. And that's it. I don't think I've missed any. I'm pretty sure that's all of it. I'm guessing they actually did do some actual black paint work on here. It's not just because of the different finishes to get the semi-gloss and glossy parts, but that's what I wanted to talk about next, is we do have a variety of different finishes throughout the figure with different textures and smooth plastic and whatever else they could do, some different patterns and things. I do, like I said, believe there is some actual black paint on there. I was kind of just being a smartass when I said there's nothing else, but it is still basically all black. You can see on here though, it does look nice. They do have the different levels of finish, the gloss, the semi-gloss, the matte. It looks fantastic. It looks really good. That's how you do a solid black figure. Looks nice. As far as the sculpt work goes, I love it. I think they nailed the proportion. That looks like a very slightly exaggerated actual human. Do the hips stick out maybe a little bit too much on the sides there? Yes. Could the crotch gap be a little bit smaller? Yeah, but like not enough to worry about. Both of those things are so insignificant compared to the rest. You can see his pecs are actually wider than his waist. His waist is actually in at the bottom of the rib cage, and it's still in down through to his hips. That's a really good thing. His shoulders are farther out and up. That's a thing that really stands out. Look where the bottom of the pec is. Anatomy lesson right here, guys. Look where the bottom of the pec is. And I know it's an armor plate, but still, it's what we have to go with. And it would be presumably over the actual pec. It's in line with the part of the bicep. The shoulder is all the way up from that. It's nowhere near even with the shoulder. And for whatever reason, the Marvel Legends keep dropping the shoulders all the way down to be even with the pecs, and it looks goofy. And this guy, even not being bulky, it looks so much better having that there. From the side, we actually have some chest shape. Now what you're seeing, it's probably hard to tell. There's a harness on there. I can't really... Can I? I could probably pop it off. I could pop it off, but I'm not going to because I need that on there. But you can see there's some shape to the actual chest, to the actual back. That's good. The shoulders are a little bit farther back than most Marvel Legends, but not quite far enough. But it's just very well put together. It's well thought out, well executed, very aesthetically pleasing. And then, like I said, the detail work on there. There's loads of sculpted textures and whatever else you want to call it. It looks awesome. I'm all about these modern designs here, and they're just knocking them out of the park. Arms are well proportioned. They drop right where they're supposed to at the elbow and at the end of the arm. Lines up properly. The thighs are sufficiently long and thicker than the calves. The feet aren't gigantic. This thing looks good. He's got a little bit of cake going on there, which, I mean, that's probably a bit much. They didn't need to do quite as much, but it does help the figure to look organic. You should have the back stick out and then suck in, like go in down here toward the bottom of the spine and then stick out again by the ass, because the ass muscles are some of the most important muscles as far as somebody who is physically capable, and superheroes tend to be that. So, I mean, it all looks good. That's a good looking figure all the way around. Fantastic. I'm going to give it a 9.5 out of 10. Hasbro is firing on all cylinders with this one. Now, as far as accessories go... not going to be as generous. Didn't have to be generous before, that was just good. But we do have the alternate head, so we have the masked head, which is cool, then we have the unmasked head. Definitely could look a lot better. I think the sculpt is really nice, and the face paint, though, it's like heading in the right direction to being really good. It's just good enough, because even with that tampography, it's pretty sloppy and doesn't really have a great likeness. So I'm not a huge fan of that. Would never use it anyway, because Snake Eyes doesn't need his face showing. Okay, we do also get a couple of like weird combat, like Rambo type knives. And I don't know if that's supposed to look like Damascus or what, but it looks weird. But we do get those. Then we get his sword and the scabbard. And the scabbard looks kind of cool. The paint's pretty rough on there, but they got most of the detail work on there, so that's nice. And then we do get the katana. It doesn't have the right details for like the hilt and stuff, but it looks pretty cool. They actually sculpted the hamon on there, the line from the hamon. That's weird, but whatever. It looks good enough. Unfortunately, it doesn't fit in the scabbard. And we need to talk about the scabbard. So if I look at this image right here, and based on everything I know, he's a right-handed guy. He's probably ambidextrous, but favors his right hand. He's favoring it right here, so that's what I'm assuming is the case. And it shows the scabbard sticking up over this shoulder, which makes sense based on this harness as well, because you have the harness going this way with the supporting strap here, so you would have the scabbard going in this direction. And you peg through the harness into the back, and that way when you unsheathe the sword, you have resistance going all the way around. You wouldn't want to be pulling this way. So that makes sense, except the scabbard's going in the wrong direction. You could not unsheathe the sword over your right shoulder, curving out like that. And like I said, I can't get the sword in the scabbard. That's as far as it'll go. So that's a piece of crap. But you could not unsheath it that way. You can only unsheath the sword this way, because that's the way your arm goes. You can reach back and go out. You can't reach and then go all the way around that way to undo it. So the scabbard's jacked. All around worthless. I would never leave it on there anyway, because they're ugly and cumbersome, so just put the sword in his hand and you'll be fine. But yeah, the scabbard sucks. So accessory wise, 6 out of 10, not great. Want to point out we don't have alternate hands, and we do have gun hands. So we have a little bit of a McFarlane thing going on here. We have trigger finger hands. Granted, this guy can use guns, but he didn't come with any, and we don't have any other hands. So that's a little bit strange, but I'm pretty sure I could find some guns to put in those hands. So I don't mind as much personally, but it is a flaw, and that's why we only get 6 out of 10. Okay, let's talk about the articulation. A little bit bummed out by the head because it's not a double ball peg like it should have been. They've been doing that recently. The collar gets in the way here, so I can't get the head to look back too far. It does look down nicely. What you get here is a big ass ball peg and hinge. And the problem with that is the ball peg being so long like that is you get a lot less motion out of it because it's all the way at the top of the head, and that's not where you want your pivot point. The neck does lean forward and rotate, by the way, but you basically can't rotate it unless you pop the head off and then use that ball peg as leverage. And it only goes a little bit anyway, so I would pretty much just leave it in the middle and be fine with it like that. But this whole neck situation, it's way overly complex, and it actually doesn't afford very good range at all. Luckily though, the head sits at a good height, and I think that's fine. Now as far as the shoulders go, we do have like what looks like supposed to be a butterfly joint in there. You can see it's cut out and there's like a cap, and it's essentially like one of the McFarlane DC figures where it doesn't do anything. It's there, it wiggles a little bit. This one moves a touch more, but it really doesn't accomplish anything. How do the shoulders work though? They don't go up to horizontal for no apparent reason other than to preserve the sculpt, but it wouldn't have taken much to just trim a little bit more out of there and get those arms up. He is a ninja after all, so I'm all for preserving the sculpt. It would have been hidden almost completely to cut it out just enough to make it work. You do get your full rotation, you do get your bicep swivel, you do get your double jointed elbow, which gives you plenty of range. That's all fine. You do get your wrist swivel, and amazingly enough, the hinges on both wrists are the proper vertical hinges to use a sword or guns. I'm going to take credit for that because I've been talking about the proper wrist hinges for forever, and we're just finally starting to see them. I'm going to assume somebody's seeing my videos and is taking notes. I'm probably wrong, but I can take the credit anyway because it doesn't affect anybody but me. It makes me feel good. For the torso, we have an ab crunch that goes back, not very far. It doesn't look great, but it doesn't move that far either, so that's okay. Doesn't go that far forward either. We basically just get the 3 notches, and that's fine because the lower torso is also on a ball peg, which does afford a little bit of extra range. I would have definitely preferred to see a diaphragm joint up here with the ball peg down here. We don't need the ab crunch. But this is okay because in conjunction with those two, he actually does lean back pretty far. And he actually does lean back or lean forward pretty far as well. It could be a lot farther, but it's pretty good using that ball peg in the lower torso. We do, of course, get our rotation and some sideways leaning as well. So I think that's okay. It definitely could be better, but that's definitely fine. All right, for the hips, I believe they're hinged ball pegs, so they have the drop down. Let's see. Yeah, so we do have the drop down on there. That's never needed. It's never great. It works okay on this guy, but you could have just made the hips work good on their own. Like, they don't need to drop down. In fact, yeah, they're not drop down. As usual, it doesn't work. It doesn't need to be there at all. Luckily, it's not too floppy, so it's fine, but you get almost full-on splits on this guy. You definitely don't need the hinge ball peg to do that because the hinges are up right now. That's with the hinge down. So I can't even bring the legs up as the hinge is down, so they serve virtually no purpose, at least for going out to the sides. Granted, Hasbro did a good job getting those hips out to the side. That's great. They put the pivot in the right location for that to work. That's awesome. Gonna take credit for that also. Bring the legs forward. It's not great. It's good enough. Definitely could have done a little bit better there. Going back, not really. I mean, you get a touch, but the cakes are there, so we can't do that. And then you do get a thigh swivel. So that's fine. The thigh swivel is slightly hidden by this armor. That's all right. Double jointed knee, I'm assuming that works. Let's see. Yeah, that works fine. No problem there. Knee pad hides the joint well, so that's good. Ankles go all the way back, and they probably could have eked out a little bit more forward, but you definitely don't need it. That's fine. Like, that's definitely good enough. No problem at all there. The ankle rocker is, it's a little steep, but it's not too bad. I think I'll take that. And so the articulation on this guy is like not impressive in most cases. Some things don't work that well, but other things do work really well. A double ball peg would have really made that head wonderful. And then a diaphragm joint too, so it definitely could have been better. The hips don't work as well as they should. And also, I think one of the reasons the hips stick out so far from the sculpt is because they're in the proper position widthwise when the hinges are down. As the hinge moves up, that hinged ball peg, it pushes the leg out to the side just a little bit. And since it doesn't serve a purpose, that's a bummer. Still, not bad articulation. I'll give it a 8 out of 10. It's still going to work pretty well. It just could have been a whole lot better very easily with a few ball pegs mixed in. So ultimately, this is a really strong release. I'm very happy to have it. I might grab a couple more just because it's a fun figure, and I'd be afraid it's going to break or something, then I won't have it. But it looks great. It has a sword. Like, I don't care about the other accessories. It has a sword, so I'll put that in his hand and maybe give him a gun and he'll be fine. But it looks good. It poses well enough. I'm happy with it. I'm going to give this an overall rating of 8.5 out of 10. No, 9 out of 10. It's a really, really strong release. The accessories do bug me a lot, though, and some of the articulation being limited for no reason sucks, but it's great. I'm going to recommend it. You guys should definitely pick it up. Even if you're not that big into G.I. Joe or anything else, it's a fun figure to throw on the shelf. So there it is, guys. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. And if you haven't subscribed, you might want to. I have new videos almost every single day and thousands already on the channel. So make sure you come back for all of that. In the meantime, keep collecting.